Hi, it's Malcolm here. In this video I want to talk about AW races. Whenever somebody says to me, where should I start when creating a system, I always try to tell people to be more specific. And that's why, although there's loads of ways you can do that by concentrating on certain types of races like hurdles or flats or chase or something like that, novice, handicap, maidens, or even amateur races or apprentices. But what I tend to suggest is having a look at AW. A couple of reasons for that. One is that you're going to get races most days. Alright, not every day, but most days. So you're not going to be without something to analyse most of the time. And this is a problem, people want to get in there and start analysing quite quickly. The second reason is the courses are very similar in a lot of ways. Alright, they're not totally alike and the surfaces can be slightly different, but generally you're dealing with the same type of course. And thirdly, you'll probably find a number of jockeys and trainers use those courses. Okay. And so it tends to be a little bit easier to analyse. Now, of course, there's disadvantages. It's not always easy to use flat or turf grass type form on AW. In fact, I wouldn't suggest it. And they are not totally alike courses. But apart from that, I mean, we deal with that on normal races as well anyway. So, you can't have hurdle results on flat results and things like that. So we deal with that anyway every day. So, but at least we've got only 4 or 5 courses to concentrate on, and we get enough selections daily or almost daily to have some fun with. Okay, so lately I've been dealing a lot with jockeys and trainers. Now, I will admit I haven't over the last 12-13 years since I've been involved in creating systems, not really, or I haven't been looking at them until I got involved with SOS 2 and created that website and that system. I didn't really look at them much. I just getting the data and the information was quite difficult to do, and it meant trawling through lots of information that was, to me, was quite difficult at the time. But when I put jockeys and trainers, or started putting jockeys and trainers into the SPB system builder, it sort of opened my eyes to quite a few things which I'd sort of passed over or come from SOS when I started work on that. Kevin was showing me how these different jockeys and trainers had done well, and I was quite surprised by that. But it wasn't really until I actually put it into SPB system builder that I really started to understand why it's a good idea to have a look at jockeys and trainers. So in this video we're going to go over a few of them that do quite well on AW races. Now, if you haven't seen the jockey and trainer stats window that I've added to SPB system builder and have been updating it, as always it's a little bit messy. I've recently added this thing where you can actually look at the daily races. So today Southall is actually normally an AW course, but today it's a grass hurdle and chase course. So Wolverhampton is the course today. So we just analysed Wolverhampton over the last few months. So we've had 296 favourite selections. I've clicked favourites here, and as it would be expected, there's no profit there. Although on some courses they do show a bit more profit, but it's probably just a trend at the moment. But you could probably dig down and say, well, okay, what about handicap races? Do the favourites do better on handicap races? No, they don't. So do they do better on maiden races? No. I mean, favourites you're going to have trouble making money on anyway because of the prices. So that's what makes it a little bit more difficult, is because you're trying to grab hold of something to allow you to analyse and find where the profit is. And that's why I'm suggesting having a look at jockey and trainers. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to take off favourites, take off Wolverhampton for the moment. So we're just on AW races, and we're going to go back to the jockey and trainer screen. And what we're going to do is have a look at jockeys we're not going to take a particular course. We're going to look at wins, and we're going to have a look at wins on AW, and let's just say I don't know, over 30, just to have a quick look and see what happens. So we search that, and we've got back these results. Okay, so let's just have a look at Ryan Moore. We're going to auto-analyse. Okay, that means it will analyse on the main screen automatically. And as we can see, that Ryan has actually made 32 points. Now, it's not a bad graph. He has gone through sections, and he is probably going through another one where he's up and down. But he's had a 26% strike rate, which can be average for reasonably good jockeys actually. So it's a matter of finding the prices on them. But let's have a look what he does when he's on favourites. Okay, so only 16 points, but look at the graph, it's a lot better, going up and up and up. It's been a little bit funny around here, but generally he does all right on favourites, and his strike rate is actually 50%, which means he wins on every other race basically. So definitely worth looking at and worth following. Now with the SBB system builder, of course, we could actually look at his pairings with different trainers. We could look at different race lengths, or we could look at even horses or whatever, or the classes that he's on. Is he better in one class than he is in another? That sort of thing. Is he better on handicap? So you could sort of just click on handicaps and see if that improves. Not necessarily. But they're the sort of things you can do to dig down deeper if you want to. But a 50% strike rate on favourites is pretty cool, and if he kept that up, then it should gradually be, as long as you get the prices right, it should actually be some reasonable profit. And as I said, if you match him up with a particular trainer, you might find you can do better. Okay, so we'll go back. Let's see who else we've got here. Richard Hughes. So we'll analyse Richard. Okay. Again, on favourites, there's 11 points. He had a good run. He's going on through an up and down period at the moment, but that doesn't mean he won't recover from that. Maybe again, it's the particular trainer he's with. We could do a quick search. So if we went in here and just typed in Richard, sorry, in fact I must remember to do something like that where you can just click on there. If we have a look at Richard Hannon's search results, and as you can see, that's a lot better graph, and again the strike rate of 53% when he's riding for that trainer. So that may be something to look out for. And again, there might be certain courses, like in this particular case seems to be his winners are Lingfield there, Kempton, Wolves. So they're pretty much spread out. We could just go and look at Kempton and just see. Not necessarily any better at Kempton. So that shows that maybe we should just be on him when he's on AWs, but in some cases you might find they actually do better at one particular course than they do at others. You can always also have a quick check just to see what they do when they're not on favourites, and as you can see, and sometimes you can lay them, not always, when they're not on favourites, and actually make money. Let's just check that when he's not with a particular trainer, because that's worth doing. Yeah, so as you can see, overall, if he's not on a favourite, he's not doing that good, and you can actually make money laying him. Sorry, that's the decimal places, but so they're the other things that you can look at when you're doing it. So let's just have a look at one more thing. Okay, so we've looked at wins. Let's have a look at losers. Okay, now we're going to look at big losers, so 100 odd. We're going to have a look at Jim here, and we're going to analyse him. Now, 142 losers. Sorry, I've left that on. That's one of the things you have to remember to do. Okay, so 142 losers. Now, laying him, as you notice, hasn't actually made any money, which you'd think, with 142 losers, it's a pretty good strike rate, but the prices are so high. So let's search the other way. Now, actually backing even with all those losers, he's still made a profit, and he's got a strike rate of 19%. Okay, and if we have a look at the graph, it's not particularly that bad. It's certainly going up all the time. He has periods just like any jockey will, so in a way that's 54 points. That's a pretty good jockey to follow. And again, you could probably say there might be particular trainers that it's worth looking at him riding for. We'll just go and have a look at Huey Morrison, and see what happens there. He's only rode a few times for him, but that might not be the case for all the trainers. And again, we can look at favourites. So only 8 points on favourites, but again it's 8 points. Not favourites, so there's 46 points there as well, which I don't know, it's probably not worth worrying about whether he's on a favourite or not. He seems to do reasonably well on both. Of course, we could also look at trainers. I find them quite a little tiny bit more difficult, because they tend to be all over the place. But if we have a look at trainers with, say, wins over 10 and do a search, okay, so we can go down here and we can, well, let's have a look at Ralph Beckett. That's a good one, I think. And if we analyse Ralph, okay, so Ralph's returned a profit of about 24 points, and as you can see, it's up and down. But you may find like he might prefer certain courses for some reason. I mean, we're talking about Kempton, Lingfield and Wolverhampton. So if we have a look at Kempton, Kempton, and do a search on that. Okay, so he's got 7 points at Kempton, but at the moment he's not doing too great down there. We could have a look at his favourites, up and down, and when he's not on favourites, that's where it's really not too good. So we could have a look at Lingfield. Take that off. Not too good at Lingfield. I don't know whether he's better on favourites. No, or not favourites. Obviously not. With such, doesn't go there a lot either. So we're left with Wolverhampton, which is probably looks like being his favourite place to be, or certainly does well. Well, he's got 18 points there, and it's not a bad little graph. He's got a 23% strike rate at Wolverhampton. Maybe he just likes Wolverhampton, we don't know. Maybe it's a jockey. I mean, we're back to Jim again, who he's with mainly. There's a couple of others there that you could analyse to see, but that seems to be the main pairing at Wolverhampton. And you could look at maybe he's better. In fact, I'm sorry, I've had a handicap tick there for some reason. So if we have a look at Wolverhampton again, so yeah, 15 points and 18 points strike rate. And as I said, if we go on favourites, maybe stay away from favourites then, and that's where the profit is. I don't know, but they're the sort of things you can dig down to and have a look and see, if you can find trainers. So we've come across like Jim Crowley, Ryan Moore, I think we looked at Richard Hughes, and now we've looked at Ralph Beckett, all producing profit on AW. So if you build up an alert section like that, where there are certain trainers you look out for, or certain jockeys you look out for on AW, and maybe even certain courses, it's far easier to follow than it is to just have loads of races. The more you can cut down and find specific areas to look for places to win, the better chance you have of winning. And obviously, the more the more information you can find, the better. And that's why I tend to like the SBB system builder, because it gives me the clues and it gives me the information. I'll be discussing this a lot in my upcoming seminar in November in Swindon. There are still a couple of places left. I'll put a link below the video if you want to come. That's one of the areas we'll be discussing about, drilling right down and finding particular places where you can make profit. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.